Welcome back to Fixing My Faith. My name is Vern, and today we are talking about hate versus love. Now, if you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness, you would be experiencing perhaps hate by members of JW.org, perhaps family members, and they would the organization or the family members would use Jesus words to say that Jesus has brought enmity between father, mother, and family. And Jesus says, if you don't hate them more than me, kind of a thing, that's what he's saying. But he's not saying to hate family members and love a religion or a governing body or 9 men who claim that they are God's representative. That's not what Jesus said. Jesus was talking about family members. Perhaps you're a CSA victim, and you were in JW.org, and it was family members that have abused you. You would have a certain amount of hate toward those family members, just as Jesus had said that he came to bring enmity between some family members, because Jesus is all about love, not about hate. So we'll find that if we follow Jesus and we follow his method of love, that there will be ones that will not like us. They will, in fact, hate us. And they will twist the scriptures and they will say this is because we left the organization and we're speaking out. But for many of us, we never spoke out. We never went online until maybe later. For me, it was 12 years. And I left the organization, and for 12 years, I experienced hate by the organization. They hated me, and I didn't know why. And I didn't feel I did anything wrong. I went and did unassigned territory and things like that they had asked for. But yet, because I brought some other ideas in, they hated me for it. Now, we're going to talk about hate a little bit, the damage of hate. But there is a healing power of hate. There's many circumstances when hate is appropriate and a necessary response. And the goal is not to oppress hateful feelings, but to release them without harming ourselves or others. And hate is a source of tremendous energy that can be channeled into positive change. So the word hate provokes strong responses. Some parents forbid their children from using it, and many religions preach against it. Except for JW.org, they actually preach for it. And we're going to show you in a few videos how the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses actually teach hate. And so it talks about this. It's a complex feeling, hate. And if we didn't hate certain things, like something poisonous, it could kill us, right? Let's say we ate some berries in the bush that were poisonous. Well, we learn which ones to hate and which ones to like. So, that's just one example. Now, here's a story of, they call it Samantha's story. And a few years ago, a mother called me to schedule a therapy session for her daughter, Samantha. And she reported that Samantha had fallen into a dark depression. And she was such a happy-go-lucky child, but since my husband had divorced, she avoids me and sulks all day in her room. Now, this is from a therapist. So she goes on to say, when Samantha arrived in my office, she sat in stony silence. A dark cloud seemed to float over her head. Samantha's mother was right. She looked miserable. After a few attempts to engage her, I asked her if her parents' divorce was the cause of her unhappiness. And Samantha's mouth stiffened, and she jabbed the tip of her sneakers into the carpet, and she nodded tensely. What do you hate most about it? I promise I won't tell them. And Samantha erupted, I hate their fighting, I hate that they're yelling, and I hate that they expect me to take sides. And for the next 40 minutes, hate poured out of her, an endless flow of pure, unfiltered rage. And I barely said another word the entire session. And the night I received an eye-opening phone call from Samantha's mother. And the mother says, I don't know what you said to her, but we had the best day in a long time. Samantha was all smiles again, and we went shopping, we had lunch, and we went to the movies together, and I can't thank you enough. So Samantha had every right to feel hateful, but until she could express it constructively, the hate remained stuck inside her. It was at the core of her depression. The adage, depression is anger turned against itself, suggests that Samantha's depression wasn't a result of hatred, it was her inability to articulate it. And there's many circumstances in life when hate is an appropriate and necessary response. Civil rights leaders took action because they hated racism and discrimination. And this is what we're doing here. And if you see in the bottom of all of our videos, we hate discrimination. So we have a petition for Canada to stop feeding religions as charities that use hate and discriminate against ones like ourselves. Now it goes on to say the hatred of British oppression drove the American Revolution, and the hate of injustice caused nearly every positive social advancement in human society. So there is a proper place for hate, hate of injustice, hate of criminal acts. What about hate of covering up CSA within jw.org? I hate that, and that's why I'm involved like I am. So there are proper places for hate. But since feelings suppressed or denied become psychic tension seeking release, the goal is not to deny or suppress, but to embrace all feelings and convert them into fuel for positive change. And in this way, hate is a source of tremendous energy. So the impulse to hate is human, and it's impossible to eliminate it. World history is full of tragic stories of people acting savagely on their hate. And perhaps the most damaging forms of hate are scapegoating and discrimination. And that's what we see in jw.org. Unprocessed hate, bottled up, nearly always grows toxic and erupts into destruction action. And without wisdom and maturity, hatred is harmful, not only to the person who feels hate, but also to the people that they hate. So the goal is not to oppress hateful feelings, but to release them without harming others or ourselves. And psychotherapy welcomes all expressions of emotions. In fact, a major purpose of therapy is to release trapped feelings that may be causing us discomfort or even mental illness. So in this way, love and hate deserve equal attention. So we can learn to love hate, and it gives an illustration of someone that had a physical illness their entire life. And they woke up one morning and decided to hate being sick. And so they took the hate and waged war against the medical problems. The individual changed their diet, added exercise, meditation, took more time off work, acknowledging that his hatred didn't cure him, but he certainly was more energetic and happier by learning to love hate. So we can do that. Now we're going to go on and talk a little bit more about the destructive power of hate. And I'm going to pull the screen up for this one so you guys can follow along with me. Now, the destruction power of hate, it starts by saying poison isn't always something you eat or drink. It can be an emotion. And hate is one of them, eating you up inside and causing destruction. Do you have hate in your life? Read on for ways to control it before it damages you or loved ones. Now, it goes on to say hate is a mighty strong emotion. And this mental venom can pollute your spirit, poison your soul, and seep into all of the relationships that surround you. Anyone who has found themselves wrapped up in the arms of hate knows how damaging and mind-consuming it can become. Even the word carries power, particularly if it comes from a friend, a family member, or a child. While hate can be directed at almost anything, animals, food, jobs, movies, and the most destructive is hatred toward other people. And folks, we're going to show you how jw.org, the governing body, teaches hatred toward other people. Now, today I want you to ask yourselves these questions. Does hate have a place in my life? Do I harbor any feelings of hatred toward myself or anyone else? And if you do, I implore you to address this negative feeling before it becomes something much more dangerous. Hate, when left unchecked, will drain your spirit, tarnish your soul, and darken your days. And generally speaking, there are two kinds of hate. The kind that's turned outward, it's an explosion, and the kind that's turned inward, it's an implosion. And both of these will eat you up inside. So if you find yourself living with hate, perhaps today is a good day for a little wellness and some house cleaning. So hating others, hate turned outwards, is both dangerously and ugly. It can motivate violent crimes and damaging behaviors. So you think of the hate that the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses puts out towards those that speak up. The news media, those of us that are online, and that even tell, like on my channel, I show that I'm an ex-JW. I'm not trying to fool anyone. But those like ourselves that actually believe in Jesus and believe in love, we are hated and detestly hated. And we're going to show you this in a minute. Now, it says at the heart of all hatred is blame. And this is particularly true for hatred turned outward, when one feels like they've been seriously wronged or victimized by someone. Their discontent and anger carries with it the potential seeds of hatred. So, yeah, it goes on to talk about hate and how it's so destructive, how we can control the feelings of hate. And are you objects of hate? Now, we're going to talk about this because as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, especially those that are online, and we can understand why so many online are anonymous. And they're anonymous because they cannot bear the hate that will come from all the family and friends. And they're online because of love. They love their brothers and sisters within the Jehovah's Witness organization so much that they want to show them where they've been deceived. So, if you've ever been a target of hatred, you know how upsetting, frightening, and emotional it can be. And actually, since the overall effect of hatred are so physically harmful and emotionally devastating, perhaps we should think of hatred as another type of H-bomb. As you may recall, real H-bombs, hydrogen bombs, generate most of the energy they produce from something called nuclear fission. And in addition to producing energy, nuclear fission is also what ignites the initial explosion of a nuclear weapon. In a similar way, hatred produces the energy for destructive power. And the fission, what actually ignites the explosion, is driven by intense hostility, fear, anger, or a sense of injury one feels. So if you think of the governing body and how they go on about hatred toward apostates, toward us, they ignite a nuclear fission. They ignite an explosion within 8.7 million people. And all 8.7 million people of the Jehovah's Witness cult all hate and follow the governing body because they idolize them. So it says, in a similar way, hatred produces energy for destructive power. And the governing body is what ignites the hatred within the group of Jehovah's Witnesses and is driven by intense hostility, fear. So they're very fearful of losing their flock because their doctrine is so weak. There's so much publicity on hiding CSA and everything that's went on within the religion. And even the governing body members are getting up in front of the courts and lying. So this is what's going on. There's a lot of fear, a lot of hostility, and they're afraid of losing their organization. And they have to blame someone, so they blame the news media. They mostly blame the apostates. So when you're confronted by this kind of extreme dislike, you basically have two choices regarding a response. You can either sink to the hater's level, toss a few H-bombs of your own, or you can recognize this behavior as a character flaw and not respond to it. So it talks about how to overcome our feelings. There's different things you can do. But first of all, I think to handle this, we're going to look at love, the opposite. So hate versus love. And love is a very strong emotion. In fact, love is stronger than hate, and love heals. So we're going to talk a little bit about love. It talks here in this article, and I'll pin all these articles to the description so you guys can look at them. But it says the heart of the matter is just that it is the heart of the matters. A healthy heart is a happy heart. And to achieve optimal heart health, your emotional and spiritual heart is just as important as your physical heart, and care must be given to all aspects of this vital organ. Every thought causes an instant flow of emotions by neuropeptides and hormones that compose a symphony of positive and negative effects within the body. And that is why it's so important to pay close attention to the thoughts and emotions that are running through your mind as they dictate the symphony that's running through your body and your mind. So love helps heal the heart and nourish your mind, body, and soul. Love is a strong emotion representing human kindness, compassion, and deep affection. And love is pure. So love is self-directed, directed toward others. Most importantly, love is a vital component for your overall health and happiness. And how does love benefit your health? Well, love helps boost self-esteem, which leads to better self-care and happiness. Self-love is important because when you love yourself, you are much more likely to engage in activities that contribute to better nutrition and physical fitness, and less likely to make unhealthy lifestyle choices. So love makes you happy. Number 2, love causes the production of neuropinephrine, I said that wrong, and dopamine. We both know those are hormones that are good hormones. And that's what it says, both hormones associated with adrenaline, which leads to increased feelings of joy and pleasure. So love counteracts the fight or flight response and helps reduce stress. Even low levels of stress cause the body to release cortisol, which is associated with an increased risk of developing high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and depression. And love can help lower the production of cortisol hormone. In fact, love encourages your body to reproduce oxytocin, the feel-good or love hormone. I don't know if I said that right either. So number 4, love decreases anxiety and staves off depression, which then reduces the risks and signs of heart disease. And the one doctor here said that he describes one study where married men who suffer from angina or chest pains experienced far less angina if they felt loved by their wives, even despite the high risk factors like cholesterol, high blood pressure, and diabetes. So number 5, love improves your immune system, decreases inflammation, and can be a powerful pain reliever. So love allows you to feel well connected with the body, which can help increase release of the feel-good hormones in your body that relax you, and they release endorphins. So number 7, love helps you sleep better. And sleeping next to someone you love makes you feel more relaxed, which helps you to sleep better. Adequate rest is vital to heart health and overall well-being, as much as the reparative work of the body is done during the sleep. So it's important to remind yourself every day that there is so much more to love than just romantic love. So there's love of life, love of nature, love of animals, love of other people, including those that hate us, and love of self. And all of these acts of love provide amazing health benefits. So it goes on to talk about how to incorporate love into your life. I will leave that for you. That will be another discussion. But there's so many things we can do. You know, we can, like I've said before on the channel, we're ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, so maybe we love helping people. Maybe we go down to the food bank and volunteer our time, help some people. Maybe we volunteer our time in the neighborhood. Maybe there's some things we can do to help our neighbors out. Maybe one of the neighbors is getting old, can't mow their grass. Maybe we could help with that, you see. So we can incorporate love into our lives. We can get a pet, a cat, a dog. And the love that we put into them is certainly the love that they're going to give us back. So hug and holding hands, physical contact, loving, nurturing ability will instantly improve your mood, reduce levels of stress, and put you at ease. Try to hug at least one person you love every day. Be more playful in your loving relationships. Make love often. Remind your partner about how much you care for them and make time for them, no matter how busy you are. Love your life and be grateful. Bring more joy into your life each day. Flirt with life. Laugh, dance, sing. Allow yourself to really laugh without holding anything back and simply enjoy this pure laughter. So there's certainly a lot on love when we look at love. And the biggest thing you want to do is love yourself. Be kind to yourself every day. Treat yourself like you would another person who you are truly in love with. So be in love with yourself. And the more you love yourself, the better prepared you will be to love others. And the more love you give, the more love will come back. And isn't that what Jesus says? Whatever you are sowing, this you will certainly reap. And I don't know if Jesus said that or Paul said that, but it's in the Bible. So there's a little bit on love. And right now we're going to take a look at how Jehovah's Witnesses feel, how the governing body teaches its flock to hate. And this is serious, folks, because the one thing we don't want to do in our life is teach other people to hate other people and to judge them. Because when we read the Bible, Jesus is really, well, Jesus is the judge. God gave all the power to Jesus in this time that we're living to judge. So there's no man on earth that can judge you or I, because we know that Jesus is the judge. And we don't have to, spiritually speaking, religiously speaking, we do not have to blindly follow 9 men that proclaim hate. So I'm going to show you the next part of the video, and I want to thank Rose the researcher and Gilbert from GG4B for their excellent videos, because they're so good that we're going to use them here and show the audience what love is. And Rose does a really good job of showing that we're not apostates. Apostates is something that the governing body has falsely accused ones like us of. And so this video is to right the wrong, to show people that there is love on the other side. So here it is, folks. I'll let the videos speak for themselves. Don't worry, the audio does work.
Let's talk about apostasy, and we'll call it spiritual poison. Now think about poison. What's the best way to avoid being poisoned? Well, we have to recognize poison when we see it and then avoid it. And the same principle applies to teachings that could destroy our faith. And that's not always easy. Now, not many of our brothers and sisters would deliberately get involved with apostates, but it could happen without our realizing it. They had no idea that apostates were behind it. It's tricky, because the apostates don't advertise, "You are now on an apostate webpage." They often pose as sincere witnesses who just have questions or concerns. And some who aren't really apostates can cause just as much trouble as the apostates do by their negative talk and criticism.
Well, let's talk about this. The original stranger was Satan the devil. Like a ventriloquist, he made a serpent appear to talk. But the words were Satan's words. Satan thereby used his voice to slander Jehovah and deceive Eve. Today, Satan continues his work as an evil ventriloquist, using not serpents, but human puppets to enunciate his voice, these acting as his agents, either wittingly or unwittingly. Strange teachings are that the faithful slave protects pedophiles, or that slave will exploit you so they can live lives of luxury. Those are both bald-faced lies. Acts 20:30 says that apostates speak twisted things. They do this in order to draw God's sheep away and make them followers of themselves. Something that's twisted is bent out of shape or distorted. They speak twisted things by leaving out vital details, taking things out of context, or in some other way manipulating a truth into a lie or into a misleading half-truth. 2 Peter 2:3 says, "They will greedily exploit you with counterfeit words." A counterfeit is something that's carefully designed to look like the real thing. Take, for example, counterfeit money. It might look genuine, but it's fake and thus worthless. If we're deceived into accepting it, we'll lose money. But if we're deceived into accepting the counterfeit words of apostates, we'll lose our life. And apostates will give us absolutely nothing of value in exchange. Can you imagine really needing a loving shepherding visit and asking apostates to give you one? False and exaggerated news reports are very common. The whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one.
Well, here's a question. Are apostates today as reprehensible as those ones that Jude mentioned in his short letter? Are they devious? No, they're devious. Have you ever noticed that apostates generally do not try to reason from the scriptures? Why not? Because they know we know the scriptures and we would see through the twisting. Instead, they pick at the organization, they twist truth, they use lies, half-truths to try to grab a mind. Well, are they deceitful? Absolutely. Well, the book of Jude is applicable for our view of those today who are like evil rocks.
The disposal of refuse and carcasses of those deemed unworthy of burial. Fire would be a suitable means of eliminating such refuse. Now, this point, what the fire did not consume, the maggots would. Now, I don't know if you know much about maggots, but you see a whole bunch of them. It's just not a pleasant sight. But what a fitting picture of the final end of all of God's enemies. Sobering, yet something we look forward to. However, the apostates and the enemies of Jehovah would say, well, that's gruesome, that's despicable. You teach your people these things? No, God teaches his people these things. This is what he's foretelling. And frankly, for friends of Jehovah God, how reassuring that they're finally going to be gone. All these despicable enemies that have just reproached Jehovah's name, destroyed, never, ever to live again. Now, it's not that we rejoice in someone's death, but when it comes to God's enemies, finally, they're out of the way, especially these despicable apostates who at one point had dedicated their life to God, and then they joined forces with Satan, the devil, the chief apostate of all time. So, in conclusion, let's go back to that opening psalm that we looked at here. Just to help this verse stay in your mind, we hope. Verse 20, just to emphasize this, but the wicked will perish, the enemies of Jehovah will vanish like glorious pastures. Particularly, they will vanish like smoke. So I thought this would be a nice memory aid to this verse stay in the mind. Here's what Jehovah's promising. That's Jehovah's enemies.
What is it that every Jehovah's Witness needs to know about the apostates? It's real simple. Every Jehovah's Witness hates the apostates. And every apostate loves the Jehovah's Witness. Now, Those are some very powerful words because it came out of my mouth. But it's really interesting. George Norrie said there's no such things as coincidences. It's not a coincidence that 100% of you Jehovah's Witnesses hate us. But 100% of us apostates do what we do because we love you, our brothers, our Jehovah's Witness brothers. And we want you to join in the love and not the hate. You see, Jehovah's Witnesses, I want to make an invitation. And here it is.
Welcome to my world. Won't you come on in?
Welcome into our world. We don't hate Christmas. We don't hate the prom, Little League Baseball, and we don't hate high school reunions, and the list goes on. We love the high school reunions, the prom, Little League Baseball, and we love Christmas. And so all we are saying is keep it simple, stupid. Come into our world, the world of love. When you become an apostate, you start loving everything. You love Martin Luther King, you love Elvis Presley, you love Richard Nixon. You're just one big love machine. It's not a coincidence, my friends, that you guys are filled with hate. I know. I never felt like a hateful person. I never thought my heart was filled with so much hate. But thank God I learned TAT, the truth about the truth. So if you take that leap, that jump, like David Lee Roth says, go ahead and jump. Jump on over to our side. You will jump into the world of love. Just look around you. If you don't believe me, just look around. You hate everything. And once you do what I did and you say, hi, my name is Gilbert Gonzalez. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness and I was filled with hate. I was filled with hate, anger, and I also was an idolater, a worshiper of men in New York City. And once you do that, you just admit it. You'll have entered into our world of love, the world of love. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember, don't subscribe, don't like. But if you do want to share this to your Jehovah's Witness brother or sister, go ahead and do that. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Well,
First, we need to see what the Bible says is an apostate. Jesus referred to an apostate at John 6, verse 64. He said, an apostate would be those who don't believe in him, Jesus. Galatians 1, verse 6 says an apostate is one who shifts from Jesus or one who moves away from his teachings. So, according to the Bible, an apostate is someone who does not believe in Jesus and his teachings. But that's not what the Watchtower organization says is an apostate, is it? An apostate, according to the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, is someone who either questions anything taught by the organization or the 9 men claiming to be the faithful and discreet slave.
Apostates.
Apostasy.
Apostates.
That the apostates
we don't want to be rebellious. Instead, we want to follow the lead of the faithful slave.
Including what Anthony Morris has said. In his talk, Put Up a Hard Fight for the Faith, at the 2021 Regional Convention, David Spillane stated that apostates are those who talk negatively about the organization itself, whether it's those who are part of the organization now or were at one time, or any type of media saying something negative about the organization, not Jesus.
You know, we receive letters at times from brothers and sisters who are troubled by something they saw on a web page, an accusation a rumor about the society or about the organization.
But that's not what's written in the Bible. The Watchtower organization uses any scripture that speaks about apostasy, claiming those scriptures are talking about leaving the organization itself, or speaking negatively about the faithful and discreet slave. Even if someone still believes in Jesus and the Bible. But is that definition correct? No. The Bible only states those who deny Jesus are apostates. So if someone says something negative about the organization or branch, as it is now referred to, or even the faithful and discreet slave, according to the Bible, that's not being an apostate.
Well, there you have it. There's two apostates giving their testimonial. The first one said that he realizes that the Jehovah's Witnesses hate us, but he assured everyone that we love the Jehovah's Witnesses. So that's all I can really say. I think researcher Rose really did a good job in showing us that we're not an apostate. We believe in Jesus. And there's so many of us on this side of the fence that have a belief, have spirituality, and we follow Jesus. We live our life with love because love is a healing power. So whatever it is, folks, we let go of the hate that we get thrown at us by the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, but we instead practice love because love heals all things. So thanks again, folks, and until next time, keep living your life with love. Bye for now.